100. In Debbie's magic act, a volunteer supposedly selects a card in a random fashion, looks at it without showing it to her, and replaces it in the deck. After several shuffles, Debbie cuts the deck and supposedly reveals the same selected card. A skeptic conducted 3 trials. In the first, Debbie was videotaped and no sleight of hand was found. In the second, the skeptic instead supplied a standard deck of cards. For the third trial, the skeptic selected the card. Each time, Debbie apparently revealed the selected card. The skeptic concluded, I love it when it tells us like what the conclusion is so obviously, that Debbie uses neither sleight of hand nor a trick deck nor a planted volunteer to achieve her effects. What was our prediction of what the flaw is here? Jake, did you have a prediction? Maybe he's not there. Janice, did you have a prediction?
Oh, yes. So this time I didn't write it down. I guess I just have to go from memory. I predicted that there's got to be lots of other ways to fool an audience.
Yeah,
when it
rather
comes to
than just
magic.
those 3?
Yes.
Yeah. Did anybody else have that's great. Did anybody else have a different prediction?
I had said, because I had like taken note that he conducted 3 trials and on 3 separate occasions she was doing something different. So in my head I was like, well, she could still be doing all of these tricks, but maybe she just wasn't doing it all together because he was doing it 3 separate times.
Yes. So like, how do we know that one of the, like, that she's not just so fancy that she could just change which one she's using on the trial? She's like, I love both of those. All right. So then what answer did we go with on this one? Nilo?
I went with A, and I had a question just because we just discussed the predictions before. Even if there were more than the 3 methods, is that relevant? Because the conclusion is only saying that those 3 methods weren't used. So even if there's like a 4th or 5th, does that even matter?
Actually, yeah, Nilo, yours is actually, yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for pointing that out. Because we're not saying that it's not something else. We're saying it wasn't these 3 things specifically, not something else randomly. Thank you. Yeah, so that's even more specific than it doesn't matter if it was a 4th or 5th thing.
Yeah, and I was just pointing that out because there's an answer that would trick you into picking that one. And it's
yes, thank you. I actually, what answer choice would trick us into picking that one?
That's option D.
Yep, tricked me.
Yeah, I see that now. So there's not something else. Well, we're not talking about, like, if they used, I don't know what other things that magicians, like a false smear. I don't know if that's a possibility. It doesn't matter because we're not concluding that it's not a false smear. We're concluding it's not these 3 things. And then B says the skeptic failed to consider the possibility that sleight of hand could also be detected by some means other than videotaping. No, like, it doesn't matter. Like even though it could be detected by something else, that doesn't mean that the videotaping still couldn't catch it that alone. And then C says we failed to consider the possibility that Debbie requires both sleight of hands and well, no, like if she requires both of them, we still would have caught it. So it's not C. And then E says we failed to consider the possibility that Debbie's success in the 3 trials was something other than a coincidence. No, I don't even know why that went wrong, other than like once again, like something other than a coincidence. It's just not like, we don't consider that it is like a coincidence or that we're using something else. Our issue is that we're saying it's not these 3 things, and our trial, our survey way of getting there was very erred. And that's why our answer is A.
Nicole?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was in between A and D. I went with A, but D was still a little bit too tricky. If you could explain again why? Because I feel like they're similar.
Nilo, can you explain why D is wrong again? And if I will clarify even if we need further clarification.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. So D, honestly, when I was doing my prediction, almost tricked me because my prediction was almost maybe there's a 4th or 5th method that's being involved. But you have to really look at the conclusion itself, and it's only saying that these 3 weren't used. So this person, like the author, could believe that a 4th or 5th or 6th method was used, but their conclusion based on their test is only these 3 weren't. So option D is saying that maybe the 4th or 5th does exist, perhaps the author actually agrees with this. Based on this like stimulus, it's very possible that this is exactly what happened. Like there's a fourth or fifth. So the fact that they're failing to consider that something else was used is not a flaw because they didn't talk about anything other than these three methods. And
Right.
so that's why D would kind of be a trick. And it's something that is used in a lot of other questions where they fail to consider like other possibilities. So that's where you might like think about that. But then again, like you just have to be careful to not like go to a default answer that you're familiar with and then try to like pick it in every single question. But yeah, definitely a tricky like answer and question.
Right. Thank you, Nilo.
No problem.
Great job, Mila. That was an awesome explanation. How are you currently scoring?